Hello, welcome to Old Virginia Homes. The house we're visiting today is a circa 1772, 1.5-story structure, modest in size, and situated on a small in-town lot. Not grand, but charming and carefully restored. However, as we all know, it's not always the physical building that draws us back in time. It's often the well-told stories of the people and associated events that truly transport us, with the architectural framework providing the proper setting for our imaginations. And this is the setting for blood-sucking leeches, spiderwebs, and millipedes. But before you envision a witch stirring stew in a cauldron, know that this is actually 18th century modern medicine. And the doctor is not only a highly educated healer, but also a Revolutionary War hero. Join me as we visit the Hugh Mercer Apothecary Shop, an Old Virginia home in Fredericksburg. Let's go. Long before anesthesia, long before the basic concept of hand washing, Dr. Hugh Mercer was amputating limbs, draining blood, and yes, saving lives while doing so. His track record probably wasn't as good as today's doctors, but based on the standards of his time, he was a successful medical professional. So just who was Hugh? Born in Scotland in 1726, Mercer was a Scottish immigrant, a soldier, and physician. He arrived in America with both battlefield experience and a deep knowledge of curative medicine that was cutting edge at the time. On May 28, 1771, Dr. Mercer and his partner, Dr. Ewan Clements, formally announced the opening of their shop on the main street, furnished with a large assortment of drugs and medicines. But I think it's only fair to present a spoiler here. Although this was restored as Dr. Mercer's Apothecary Shop in the early 20th century, later evidence shows that this probably wasn't really the exact location of the shop. It is believed that his building was on an adjacent corner, but was destroyed in an 1807 fire. However, this is a contemporaneous building restored to represent Mercer's work, and the knowledgeable costumed docents facilitate a willing suspension of disbelief. When I visited the shop, a note was posted to the door which read, "Lately arrived from London, finest Swedish leeches, brimstone, mercury, itch ointment, Spanish blister beetles, and valerian fit elixir, much celebrated to remove all manner of hysteric and hypochondriac affections." The backyard includes plantings that would have provided Mercer with fresh ingredients for physical and mental ailments, as well as cosmetic treatments. Some of those may have included lemon balm, which causeth mind and heart to be merry, primrose, said to help with nervous disorders and to remove wrinkles and freckles, and lavender, to soothe headache, giddiness of the brain, and to prevent nausea and fainting. Our docents were excellent and interpreted the stories in first person as the loyal apothecary wenches who worked for Dr. Mercer, gushing over his expertise and enthusiastically and knowledgeably peddling the inventory.
Sort of aching. He'll soak a piece of white bread with the rose water and then press that over your eye. It gives a great deal of relief.
These well-informed wenches explained how Dr. Mercer cared for the citizens of Fredericksburg with all the best contemporary medicines and treatments, including crushed crab claws, cobwebs, snake root, and other questionable ingredients. While some of this may sound like quackery, much is rooted, pardon the pun, in real results. And some of these early remedies are still used today. I just may have some valerian tea this evening. Here, our docent explains how Dr. Mercer turns the ingredients into a medicinal paste by grinding them using a mortar and pestle and then mixing them with filtered water. The paste is then formed into a mold, after which these are measured and cut into pill form.
So when he stretches the dough across and then slides this, it cuts for him 24 even round pills all at one time.
One aim of 18th century good health was to keep in balance the 4 humours. These are blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Dietary adjustments could help with this balance, but sometimes bloodletting was necessary. And that's how I got my love of critters fix on this tour with these fascinating leeches. Apparently, Virginia leeches aren't big enough to efficiently do the job, so these big guys had to be imported. And if you're wondering why this leech isn't leeching, we wondered the same thing, and so we asked, and here's what we found out.
I feed them so I know he's not hungry. We feed him cattle blood, so I know he's...
Cattle what?
Cattle blood.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I put it in sausage casings and then drop it down in the water, and they attach and eat.
In case you didn't catch that, it's cattle blood in sausage casings. So that's what they're fed when they're not feeding on us. And if you need a fresh powder for your wig, feel free to head upstairs while your medicinal order is being prepared. Wigs of the time were made of human hair, or possibly the hairs from horse or cow tails, or even goat beards. Wig powder was a mixture of flour and cornstarch. This little round window ensured the confinement of the powder to the wig closet, but I can only imagine what the wig powderer looked like at the end of the day. In 1774, George Washington, who had become Mercer's good friend, sold his childhood plantation, Ferry Farm, to Mercer, who planned to make this where he and his family would settle. Mercer's family included his wife, Isabella Gordon, and their 5 children. Interestingly, at least 2 of their children were deaf. This was during a time period when most people would write off any future for deaf children, but Hugh and Isabella guided their children to success. William Billy Mercer was both deaf and unable to speak, but became an artist of note, studying under Charles Willson Peale in Philadelphia. This is Billy Mercer's rendition of a 1782 painting by James Peale. The scene is the Battle of Princeton, which was where Billy's father, Hugh Mercer, experienced a dramatic end to his life. In 1776, after a successful medical career, including caring for Mary Washington, mother to George, Mercer answered the call to join the Continental Army as a Brigadier General. In January of 1777, while en route to Princeton, New Jersey, Mercer's brigade encountered 2 British regiments and a mounted unit. Mercer's horse was shot out from under him. As he struggled to get his footing, he was surrounded. Supposedly, the British troops mistook him for George Washington, ordering his surrender. Mercer drew his saber in defiance, but was beaten to the ground by bayonet thrusts and musket butt blows to the head. A brutal way to die. But he had refused to leave his men during the battle, and was given a place to rest on a white oak tree trunk. Now known as the Mercer Oak, This is the central element of the seal of Mercer County, New Jersey. Upon Mercer's death, his will instructed his family to reside at Ferry Farm. In 1826, the farm was put up for sale by the family and left the Mercer lineage. At that time, it was advertised as Mercer's Ferry. The building that houses the Apothecary Museum, located at 1020 Caroline Street in Fredericksburg, was preserved in the early 20th century by the Association for the Preservation of Virginia Antiquities, now Preservation Virginia. In 2013, ownership was passed to the Washington Heritage Museums. Thank you for visiting the Hugh Mercer Apothecary Shop with me today, an old Virginia home.